how the technology's matured and how the world's different and we're fenced in. But I mean, you know, maybe that's just a sign of maturity and acceptance, right? Because you probably can't, again, maybe in a web blanket, I don't think you can escape it as money comes in.
Yeah, I mean, it could also be that we're just like accepting our fate in the panopticon, and this is like the new reality. It's like, oh, well, there's nothing we can do, so enjoy the KYC and the rectal exams, you know?
Welcome back to Token Narratives. I'm Graham Stone, repping the hype function at Bitcoin.com. With us today, we have news and research gigabrain David Sensel, as usual, and the Bitcoin.com top dog, Corbin Fraser himself. IRL, the three of us here at Bitcoin Mena in Abu Dhabi. We're going to kick this one off with a little camelicious.
Camel milk.
Fresh camel milk.
And delicious camel milk. To do the honors.
You know what? You guys dive in. I'm going to read the ingredients that I was quickly reading. I saw sodium was in there, and I think that's natural soda. Is it salty milk?
Yeah, a little salty.
It's a little salty?
Yeah.
It's a little watery.
Huh.
It's not like thick.
I mean, I guess camels got that, like, you know, water sack on their ass, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
So we're at Bitcoin Mena in Abu Dhabi. We're on day 2 of the conference. What was your vibe from the first day of the conference? What's the vibe check on the first day of the conference?
I enjoyed the conference a lot. My initial impression was that it was
Really salty.
It is salty, yeah. It was smaller than I expected. The positive way to spin that is it was more intimate, and you can definitely tell with like the stages. There's a stage right behind the camera. You're really close to the guests though, which is quite cool.
Intimate. It's like a fireside chat.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly.
How does it compare in terms of the attendees to other conferences? Obviously, this is a Bitcoin conference. What I'm seeing is mostly Bitcoin miners. It's a big Bitcoin mining presence. What other types of businesses have you seen here?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of the Bitcoin layer 2s that are, you know, emerging. There is this like Bitcoin renaissance occurring right now where, you know, people are trying to build DeFi and layer 2 solutions on Bitcoin instead of saying, hey, go over to Ethereum, go over to other chains. These guys are trying to build this. Now, I think what I have realized, though, is that the average Bitcoin person here has no friggin' clue what they're doing. They don't understand what that DeFi stuff is. They haven't been following that. They've just been living in this, like, Michael Saylor number go up fantasy land.
There is no second best.
There is no second best.
You mortgage your house.
So they're like, why would you need DeFi?
Yeah.
You should just hold Bitcoin. Don't do anything with it. Just hold it. So I find there is this like awareness or like a knowledge gap between like the average Bitcoin person just floating around here and the DeFi degenerate kind of crowd. So it's very much like it's a bubble within a bubble, which I thought it would be a bigger bubble. I thought more people would be kind of hyped up about it, but it seems like most people are just, they care about number go up and green candles and, you know, the vibe.
Some of that might have to do with the place. I think Abu Dhabi, from some of the conversations I've had, is a little more interested in just Bitcoin, the commodity. And so I think they're more conservative. I had someone talk about how it's not just that the majority of the wealth has been created on commodities. Apparently, there's religious aspects of this too, right? So like gold apparently has some kind of connotation that's connected with Islam. And so there's like a deep respect and understanding of commodity assets.
What you're saying is that Bitcoin may be seen in Islam as an acceptable investment asset?
Not anything like acceptable or not acceptable, but just more familiar, maybe more trustworthy.
I would say I have not seen a single lending borrowing protocol here, and I think that is perhaps religious. There's I think they aren't shying away from the fact that they're not a big fan of usury. You know, you've got Islamic banks, you've got people on stage talking about you know how Bitcoin fits into the Muslim religion and how it's okay and how it's good and Bitcoin's hype. And so it's interesting to see, but it's a totally different vibe than something like a token 2049 where it's protocols and degenerate crypto stuff and DeFi and tokens. This is like Bitcoin and Bitcoin only, and a very curated experience for what I think the Bitcoin community and ecosystem is presenting to the world.
Yeah, I would say you can see that reflected in the kind of attendees, right? Like, I think, Graham, you were saying earlier today that you're meeting a lot of people who own businesses or run businesses, whereas at like Token 2049, it was all like I met marketers,
it's industry experts, right?
Industry experts,
yeah.
A lot of like VC-ish type, kind of public-facing KOL kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't really seen a lot of that here.
Yeah, most of the people I've personally spoken to here have been speaking to me, trying to see how they can leverage the Bitcoin.com domain to get awareness of their product.
Yeah.
So that to me is quite interesting.
It's also bullish, I would say, right? You have
bullish for us as long as they'll pay us.
But it also means that you have businesses that are trying to get attention, so there's presumably they have a product.
Yeah, exactly. Up and coming businesses looking to find distribution and awareness. So that's definitely bullish. David, you've been interviewing quite a few people. You've got 15 minutes lined up with Eric Trump here later today.
That'd be big.
That should be interesting.
Yeah. So we still don't know if it's going to happen.
It's happening.
It's happening.
I'm going to put that energy out there, guys.
It's happening. So
it's all happening.
Really excited about that. And then after that, I get to sit down and talk with Justin Sun. So I'm also excited to talk with His Excellency Grand
and
Bambino.
So far, who's the most interesting person you've spoken to?
So I spoke to a lot of really awesome people yesterday. Honestly, like I spoke to this guy who's been in the mining industry for more than 10 years. I spoke to someone who was in lending, and I wish I had asked that question, because that's a really good question.
Are you worried you're going to get a?
Well, no. I mean, he was a speaker as well, so it must be a thing that he has to anyway. Yeah. But the most interesting person I talked with was the editor-in-chief of Bitcoin Magazine, right? And they're kind of hosting this event itself. And the guy is like a legend, Aaron. And so, just as a person who's working in news, I was able to ask him questions that, as someone working in news, I wanted to ask, and I got his answers on camera, which was fun. And I also, we disagreed, so we had like a nice back and forth where he had one vision or version of Bitcoin, and I was disagreeing with him, which is fun. It's fun to do.
Could you elaborate on that? How did you disagree? What was the nature of the disagreement?
It was on how uncensorable Bitcoin will be in the future, and I had a more pessimistic take that.
Wait a minute, you had the wet blanket take?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's new.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Hard. But yes. So I had a very pessimistic view, and I said, as Bitcoin gets more powerful and more wealth is stored in it, governments will kind of corral it more, and it won't ever be fully controlled, but it'll be kind of fenced in, right? And he said, his take on that was, I understand what you're saying, and he said that is a possibility, a distinct possibility. But he said, if that happens, I think Bitcoin goes to zero, and it's a failed project. So it was fun to do that, and we could have kept going on, but we had to cover other topics. So
there definitely is a vibe though between the OG cypherpunks that you kind of would have met 5, 6, 7 years ago, and the new people coming in who they're just in it for the commodity aspect of it. They're not. They don't really have this religious fervor that I think the OG Bitcoiners kind of have and continue to have, and they're still banging that drum as if everyone cares about that. But the reality is, it does seem like, you walk around here, the cypherpunk vibe is gone. It's not really there.
Well, I would say that I did see one interesting person, which was, it might be Plan B, the guy walking around with his face fully covered.
Okay. There's a few.
Sunglasses on.
Yeah.
He's hiding his identity. That's interesting, but yeah, I mean, mostly it's corporate.
Yeah. I would like to say one more thing. So Aaron had a book. He wrote a book called Genesis, and it's the prehistory of Bitcoin. And I forgot to do this, so I'm just going to shout it out now. I am going to buy it and read it on the plane back home, because it's the history of what led up to Bitcoin, going back 5 or 6 years, and all about cypherpunks, right? All about the cypherpunks, all about the 4 or 5 different projects that Satoshi Nakamoto used to make Bitcoin. So again, the whole idea being that Bitcoin wasn't like some immaculate conception that came out of nothing. There was definitely this lineage of other things like Hashkey and stuff like that. So I can't wait to read it.
I guess for those that follow or still participate in the cypherpunk movement and see themselves as an anon on Twitter, or they like the pseudonymous or the actual anonymous side of crypto, do you see this ecosystem and the Bitcoin ecosystem is still supporting that, or do you see DevCon and Token 2049 and like that wider Web3 ecosystem being more supportive of that kind of cypherpunk movement? Like where is the future of cypherpunk? Is it in Bitcoin or is it elsewhere?
So Aaron and I talked about this because Monero came up, right? And Xano, these kinds of like privacy coins.
Yep.
And Aaron was saying, it's like, yeah, like Bitcoin doesn't solve this currently, and frankly, probably won't. But this kind of like privacy kind of thing, which is so important to this cypherpunk thing. So I think you'd probably have to say that it just doesn't exist in Bitcoin, and probably can't. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think?
I think just the game theory is kind of a way. It pays now to be basic, right? Like if you want funding and support and adoption, and you want to be like seen as the big boy in the room, like just like
you go through, do all your picture,
you self-censor,
got all your KYC.
Yeah, we sound like so many science fiction books I've read, like when I was young, about like how the technology's matured and now the world's different and we're fenced in. But I mean, maybe that's just a sign of maturity and acceptance, right? Because you probably can't escape, again, maybe in a wet blanket. I don't think you can escape it as money comes in.
Yeah, I mean, it could also be that we're just like accepting our fate in the panopticon, and this is like the new reality. It's like, oh, well, there's nothing we can do, so enjoy the KYC and the rectal exams.
Speaking of maturity and acceptance, what is the dude-to-chick ratio at this conference compared to other Bitcoin and crypto conferences that you've attended?
Okay, so so I've been to a bunch of conferences. The ratio for this is, I would say, middle of the pack, right? Like this is probably higher than the Japanese conferences. Way lower than Singapore, number one, in terms of like way more women. And DevCon is probably one of the lowest, right? Like there's all developers.
Where's highest?
Singapore, and then Taipei.
Singapore, Taipei, we're quite high. Yeah, I'd say that's kind of my read on it as well. It feels like maybe an 90-10 dude to chick ratio.
90, yeah, that seems about right.
Right.
Pretty good, actually.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Also, not to, a little hot take, but not to besmirch any of the women here, but there's a lot of like what I would consider arm candy here. Whereas like at DevCon, for example, or the Japanese events, there were less women, but pretty much most of the women you saw there were like had what I would consider
actually developers.
Yes, they were developers or had like jobs that were not just based on aesthetics.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Any last thoughts on the conference? What are you looking forward to for the rest of today, for the last day of the conference?
I hope I don't make an ass of myself with the future president, Eric Trump. That's about it. So yes, I'm joking, right?
What if we? Okay, there is that potential, right? You could say maybe 10 years from now, he puts his hat in the ring, and then you're like, I know that guy.
Yeah, why
He's
not?
the guy I talked to.
Why not? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's all kind of I'm thinking about right now. I just don't want to make a fool of myself.
Nah, you're gonna do great, man. You're gonna do great.
I don't want to like reach into my pocket really quickly and just get like tackled.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the hoopla around the appearance of a Trump on the premises here. Should be interesting. Corbin, any last thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think for me it's probably just an opportunity to catch up with more people in the industry. I've been getting caught up on kind of the latest and greatest in mining, because I do think that like Bitcoin.com, we've previously did have a mining pool. It's not something we currently have now, but perhaps there are some Bitcoin miners that we could be looking at partnering up with and doing some things with in the future. And I think this is the place to do it, right? Like this is the heart of Bitcoin, and being involved and joining this space right now is kind of like it's an easy foot in the door. Everyone's here, so just taking advantage of having all of these different industry professionals from all over the world, from the mining infrastructure to the actual metal developers. There's Bitmains over here. There's different mining groups over here. They're all trying to sell their different reduced cost energies and subsidies, and trying to encourage more miners to kind of move into their infra. So I think we'll be kind of chatting a little bit more with them, checking out more of these Bitcoin layer 2s. I'm still interested in the Bitcoin renaissance of DeFi on Bitcoin. I think something's happening there. It is just I'd say the wet blanket for me is that less people are excited about it than I thought, because I'm excited about it, but normal people here are just like, what about the price?
I didn't see, I was expecting, I mean, I know you, or was it Jason, went to Hong Kong, Bitcoin Hong Kong, and he said there were L2s were everywhere. I haven't seen anything like that here. I saw more of that Bitcoin L2 mumbo jumbo at Token.
Well, I have a theory, and I think this event has been a little bit more curated by the event organizers, which is maybe a good thing in the sense that a higher quality. Right. But I think maybe because of the Hong Kong and Taipei kind of free market vibes of just anything goes crypto, you get a lot more on the fringe stuff, which to me is actually where there's more positive EV, there's more upside, there's more interesting developments there, where here's safe, secure, which is probably what you want for your first foray into a Bitcoin conference in Abu Dhabi. Totally. Abu Dhabi's traditionally a little bit more of a conservative city than Dubai even, so taking that measured approach is probably the right choice for the event organizers here.
Corbin, do you remember at the Taipei event that word salad Bitcoin L2 thing? I think we took pictures of it and posted it. It was one of the craziest things to read. I felt like I was on a hallucinogenic as I was reading it.
Yeah, I love it, but I also understand that nobody else would. Normal people should never read that and say, I understand half of what that is. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense.
Asynchronous ZK snark roll up in the whatever.
Gets me going.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. So thank you for your insights, and thanks for everyone listening to another episode of Token Narratives.
Camelicious.
Yeah. A Camelicious episode coming at you live, not live, but from Abu Dhabi, Bitcoin Mena.
It's still watery.